Okay, good morning. Good morning, Rabotai. Welcome back to Breakfast on the Class. Breakfast on the Class today is dedicated for complete and speedy for Shlomo Farhi and Chaim Ben Frida. Also dedicated for the continued health of Chana Bat Tzemefega. The year of Breakfast on the Class is dedicated on memory of Nishmat Ruth Orfali Bat Adela, Shalom, sponsored by our family. And finally, the learning for this week is dedicated by the Torah Center founders, Soli and Pulinasa, dedicated in honor of our esteemed and growing community at the Edmund J. Safra Synagogue. Hazaku Baruch. Okay, let us begin. We also want to wish Mabruk and Mazal Tov to the Reich and Levi families on the Brit Milah that they had here in the Bet Knesset yesterday, and to the Cohen and Shatrit families for the Brit Milah that we have coming up tomorrow, and for the Slavin and the Sitzer families for the Brit Milah also that we have coming up on Friday. Shtabach Shemo, huh? Okay. You're gonna have a lot of little friends running around the shul soon, okay? All right, let's begin. The commentators want to understand a very interesting verse that we open with. The pasuk says, "Vayishma Yitro Kohen Midyan Choten Moshe." Yitro, who was the priest of Midyan, the father-in-law of Moshe, heard all the good that Hashem had done for the Jews, and he came to join. So the question that the commentators ask is a halakha mefureshet. The halakha explicitly says that a person who is a convert, you're not allowed to remind him that he's a convert. Did you know that? You're not allowed to tell him, remember yesterday, or remember a long time ago when you used to serve idols, used to be from this other religion. You're not allowed to bring that up. By the way, it's not only a convert that you're not allowed to do this for. You're also not allowed to do this also for someone who is about Teshuva. Say a person, became religious older in life. You can't turn to him and say, delicious smash burger over here, with the vegan cheese. How does it taste compared to the real thing? Is this as good as you remember? Mackie D's? Right? You can't say that to someone who once didn't eat kosher and is now eating kosher. And that's true for any mitzvah. Anything that a person has become stronger in is about teshuvah. You can't remind him of his lower past. It's not allowed. It's an isur. So my friends, how does the Torah itself break its own law? And Yitro heard Kohen, Midyan, Choten, Moshe. How can it be? So there are, answers. You ever hear an answer to a question that's just not satisfying? Yeah, no, nobody? All the time. Okay. All the time. So an unsatisfying answer might be, well, we're describing the period before he actually converted. At that point, right, calling him Kohen Midyan is not derogatory or about his past, it's about his present. I don't know, it's a little unsatisfying to me. Can anyone, you guys, does that satisfy you, that answer? Not so much? Especially because the Torah was going to put this into the canon of Torah, which would mean that all future generations, every little kid studying Chumash in school, is like, he was once a priest of it. I don't know why I became Tiny Tim for a second there. But either way, are you with me? So, unsatisfying answer. So, I want to share with you a different approach. And it's really something that a person has to be very careful of. I remember a while ago hearing that there was a rabbi who came to speak at a certain town or in a certain place, an event, and they said to him, good morning, we're so happy you're here. We were hoping that you'd be able to share with us the story of your conversion. I think people will find that inspiring. That's what they told him. He said, what you just did was an isur from the Torah. You're not allowed to remind me. Never mind ask me to share all the gory details. Wild. So that's something I think that a person needs to be sensitive of in this world. When a person has a little bit of a, let's say, less than rosy past, the idea that you want to know how it was so that you could feel, I don't know, maybe better about yourself, so that you're interested in the gory details. It's just fascinating to you, because it's fascinating to you doesn't give you the right to bring up that and bring this person pain. Let me just share one last piece before we go back into the answer. There's a famous question between Rabbi Yisrael Salanter and I believe it was the Chafetz Chaim. And the question was, we know that the halakha is that if a person hurts somebody else, it's not enough to do Teshuva, right? You have to be mefayes et chavero, right? You have to go and ask for forgiveness from that friend. That's the halakha. The Chachamim want to know a very interesting case. What happens if I spread rumors about you, but you never knew who it was? Or, worse still, what if you never even knew that rumors were going on or going around about you? In order for me to ask forgiveness, what do I need to do? I need to tell you, I'm so sorry, I told everybody that you're a thief, I told everybody that you're a horrible person, you have no midot, I told people lots of different things. Right now, right, he is able to forgive me because he knows what I've done. But in order for me to get forgiveness, what did I need to do? I needed to bring pain to another Jew so that I could get my forgiveness. What is the pain of bringing someone, what is the isur of bringing someone pain with your words called in the Torah? It's called ona'at dvarim. You're not allowed to make someone feel bad with your words. So the Sfarim want to know, Rabbi Yisrael Salanter actually said that this was the halakha. He said that just because you need forgiveness doesn't allow you to subject this Jewish person to the pain of telling him what you've done. So you're not allowed to tell him what you've done, which ergo means that you can't get Teshuva. And someone asked, what am I supposed to do? You're not supposed to talk badly about people. You're not supposed to put yourself in a situation where the only way to get forgiveness is to do another sin. That's the short answer. And that's the responsibility that a person bears when they've done that. Chafetz Chaim actually held that that's not the case. Machloked about how to deal with that. But you see that how sensitive we were to causing someone, bringing someone pain with our words. To say to someone, oh, I know that you grew up but you never really kept Shabbat, or you never really prayed. What's it like coming here and praying the first? You can't do that. So why is the Torah saying, "Vayishma Yitro Kohen Midyan Choten Moshe"? I saw brought down in the name of Rabbi Menachem Cohen. He says that what the Torah was trying to do over here was not demean Yitro with this description of where he'd come from, but rather to praise Yitro from where he came from. To illustrate that Yitro was someone who came from greatness, he was someone who came from honor, he was someone who came from so far away, to illustrate how far Yitro's journey had taken him. So as an example, let's say you look at me and you say, Rabbi, very nice you're a rabbi. So, did you grow up being a rabbi? Your father was a rabbi, your grandfather, right? Now imagine I say yes. Does that make me less impressive or more impressive? Less impressive. Father's a rabbi, your brother's a rabbi, your uncle was a rabbi, everyone was a rabbi. So you were surrounded by this. It was something which was almost expected. The leap was not so difficult. If I tell you, right, I'm a rabbi, then I tell you, growing up, my father, my mother, they all were this, they were that. The further I've had to climb, the more it means I've overcome. So the Torah felt, in illustrating the greatness of Yitro, that it needed to mention where he came from, how far away was the journey of Yitro's progression. And according to this opinion, it actually makes sense because we describe Yitro as Kohen Midyan only one time. Only this first time. After this, he's called for the rest of the parasha Choten Moshe. So the idea of pointing to his greatness was okay for once. And that's why we did it. Now, I want to take it one step further before we wrap it back. In the Sefer that I was reading this in, they pointed out something else from the Rabbi Shlomo Farhi. They said as follows. There's a very interesting halakha the Gemara in Yevamot on Chav Dalet brings. En mikablim gerim, Am Yisrael does not accept converts in the times where the Jewish people were doing exceedingly well. So in the time of David HaMelech, Shlomo HaMelech, I guess in the second half of David HaMelech's time, Shlomo HaMelech, they had no enemies. They were living in peace, tremendous prosperity, political, and freedom. So if someone converts during the time of Shlomo HaMelech, what do we say? Maybe he's converting because he feels like he'll have more of an in, with the benefits of being as if he's a Jew. He feels for security, for safety, for monetary reasons, it's a good idea to convert. So therefore, we don't accept Gerim during this time. Gemara asks, if that's the case, how can it be that Shlomo HaMelech married Bat Paro, the daughter of Paro, but we don't accept Gerim in the time of Shlomo? And the Gemara answers, Yevamot on Daf Ayin Vav, the Gemara answers that since Bat Paro was literally Bat Paro, she had all the money, she had all the honor, she had all the security. So she has no reason to accept to want to do Gerut for any of these reasons. So therefore that establishes that her motives are pure. Says Rav Gadsfried, and the Torah is telling you, before anyone has any questions on the Gerut of Yitro, at a time when miracles are happening for the Jews, when everything and every part of their needs are being met by God, when Namogu Kol Yoshvei Kenan, everyone is shaking from the Jews. Why would they accept Gerut of Yitro at that time? Why would they accept it? Perfect time. Answers the pasuk with the same answer of Bat Paro. Yitro didn't need this. He was already Kohen Midyan. He wasn't a used car salesman. He wasn't struggling to make ends meet. He wasn't selling liberty. He wasn't. What was he doing? He was a prestigious person in his place. Now he gave that up, illustrating that his journey towards Gerut was not for gain, was not for honor, for prestige. So that's why it was important to be able to say this here. Now imagine a person who is a ger. The halakha is you don't want to be mitzaer him, you don't want to cause him pain, so you don't mention his gerut. But if the mentioning of his gerut and the circumstances is what gets him under the radar without any questions, that's to his benefit. And therefore the Torah was willing to be able to say and to call Kohen Midyan. Fascinating insight into this. However, let's really take it one step further. Although, I don't know if you guys mind, I'm going to hit you with a tangent. The Midrash says, what did Yitro hear? That he came to join the Jewish people. He heard Kiryat Yamsuf. Other opinion says he heard Milchemet Amalek. Right? Those are two opinions. So I was thinking to myself, Famously, we mentioned the diuk on Sunday that it doesn't say that he heard the victory over Amalek. So he came, you know what? Because they won Amalek. He heard about Milchemet Amalek. And all the different opinions are trying to figure out what does that actually mean. Why did Rashi express it that way? Why did the Midrash express it that way? He heard Milchemet Amalek, the war with Amalek. That made him come. According to what we're saying now, fantastic. He heard Kiryat Yamsuf, that's why he wanted to come. Lest you be worried that Kiryat Yamsuf, which made Namogu Kol Yoshevei Kenan. So Yitro is thinking to himself, you know something? I'll come join the Jewish people. Everybody will be afraid to start up with me. What do we remember about Yitro in Midyan? His daughters were being attacked at the well, remember? I'll join the Jewish people. I'll be protected. Says the Midrash, no. You know what else Yitro heard? He also heard of Milchemet Amalek. Now the point here is not to tell you about the war with Amalek. The point here is to tell you that Yitro understood if someone could attack the Jews after Kiryat Yamsuf, when they were literally untouchable, then the Jewish people would always be vulnerable to people's attacks. Anti-Semitism would always rear its ugly head. Imagine someone now wants to do conversion. It's not such a hot thing right now to be Jewish. I just want to say one thing. I need everybody to pause and let this hit. The most expensive advertisements in the year, in the world, are advertisements during the Super Bowl. They cost millions of dollars for 30 seconds. I don't know the exact figure. Maybe someone can tell me. 8 million? Is that 8 million? Okay. I'm 8 million a minute? So half a minute is 8 million, half a million is 4 million. Let's get this clear. Half a minute, $8 million. Okay? For 30 seconds in the Super Bowl, $8 million. A delusional, insane, megalomaniac, narcissistic, anti-Semite, who shall not be named, comes on and does an ad and tells people one thing, to go to his website. Okay? I'm not going to say his website, so not one extra person should go to his website. When you logged onto the website, they had one item for sale. And the one item for sale was a t-shirt with a swastika on it. So in America, 2025, there was an ad at the Super Bowl which pointed at one object, a t-shirt with a Nazi swastika on it. Let that land. As of this morning, that website is still up, and there's still one item for sale on the website. How this has not had a DOS attack on the website yet, I do not understand. How it is not illegal. How it's not illegal. Number one, for the website. Number two, for the advertising space. Now let's be clear. It's just going down? Okay, Baruch Hashem. Fox News, I got to check this morning, before I came downstairs from shul. Unless you just did it now, man. My friends, Fox News made $8 million from this ad. If a single dollar goes to Fox instead of to an anti-Semitic campaign, Fox should be ashamed of themselves. Shu'alim hilchuba. My friends, this is the time that we are living in. Our tefillot, I know that we've been praying for hostages in Israel. I know we've been doing a lot of these things. My friends, we got to pray for ourselves right now. We do not live in the time, I might be Shlomo, but I ain't the king, Shlomo. We are not living in a time of peace. Anti-Semitic attacks are up. I believe it's almost 400%. They are by far outweighing every other racist kind of attack. And it blows my mind that when we took an advertisement for anti-Semitism during the Super Bowl, they forgot to make it about Jews. And it was about stopping all forms of hate. Now that might have been a strategy. But can we just admit that this is not the golden Medina, the golden country for us? Can we just admit that every single person should be investing in real estate, in Eretz HaKodesh, in Eretz Israel? Every person. Now I'm not telling you if you couldn't afford to buy a house here, that you have to buy your first house there and rent here. I'm not going to tell you that. But after you own something here, the idea just blows my mind that people should buy an apartment in Miami before they bought an apartment in Eretz Israel blows my mind. Now I know some people say Miami is like mini Israel. I can understand the idea there's a lot of Jews there. But my friends, instead of buying in Miami, you should think about my ammi, my people, my home. Sammy Ayal, God bless you. I think the 3 locations already building in Israel, trying to get places for our community, unbelievable. Shtabach Shemo, we've talked about other projects as well going on in Israel for the community and others. But you know something? It doesn't have to be either one of those projects. You could just get any real estate agent in Israel. You could buy anywhere. Anywhere. I'd encourage you to buy in Yerushalayim somewhere. Right? But anywhere in Eretz Israel. Look at Yitro, Kohen Midyan. Understands he'd rather be homeless with us, wandering the desert with us, than in any other land, not with Am Yisrael at its epicenter. My friends, let's come back to this concept of Kohen Midyan now. You know, I think the Torah is teaching us another lesson as well. It's not just telling us that this is why Yitro is a card-carrying member of the Jews, because he had no reason to leave. It's not the only reason. I think the Pasuk is communicating to us a very deep truth about every single person's own journey. You know, a little while ago we did a whole class on the conversation around anxiety. And because it was a class about the conversation on anxiety, we called it anxiety, T-E-A. Ya'ani, the T on anxiety. Understand? No? You might be too old. Okay. In the class, there was one approach that we shared out of 4 approaches as to how a person can combat anxiety. One of the approaches was a very simple approach, and that was to look back at your life's experience. You ever meet someone that is always thinking that things are going to go wrong? If we do this, this is going to fail. If we go here, that's what's going to happen. If we build a shul, no one's going to come. If we start the class, it's not the right time. That kind of a person. One of the tricks to helping a person deal with their anxiety is to ask them to think back to other times when they were anxious about things. And you know what? It actually worked out well. So what was the last time you were really nervous about something that actually worked out? I was very nervous about my kid going out on this date. Turns out this girl was the best thing ever happened to my son. I was very nervous about, the delivery, my wife, the doctors scared us. We were praying our guts out. They told us the baby was going to be born. The baby was born exactly on time. They told us the baby's underweight. The baby was exactly the right weight. They told us they worried about this, that. Nothing came out of it. They told us that Y2K, the whole world's going to explode in 2 seconds. I was living in Israel at the time, by the way. I remember at midnight, I went out to my porch. Let's go! Nuclear holocaust. Bring it. I'm already right over here. I'm like 500 yards from the Beit HaMikdash. Nuclear holocaust happens. 2 seconds later, I'm popping right back up with Mashiach, go to Beit HaMikdash. Bring it! I think some of us were a little disappointed when nothing happened. Do you remember? The world was ending. How many times they tell us we all have to stock, go out and get water and get everything from the shelves. You're going to need. How many times that happened? And then in the end, this massive storm that's coming. In the end, you know what's left of that storm? The meme of the table in the backyard with one chair over. I survived the storm of 20. Remember that meme, right? That's what's left. When a person looks back at the things that they were so nervous about that turned out to be nothing, what does that give them? It gives them ammo to fight my current anxiety. You know something? How many times was I wrong? Maybe I'm wrong now. That idea, using your own history to be able to create something new. When a man looks back at what he's achieved and what he's accomplished in this life, history allows him to write his story. See what I did there? Do you understand? If I look back and I think to myself, you know something? There was once a time, like I told the boys last night at our Musar class, there was once a time I did not know how to read Rashi's script. You know what that means? That means that if I'm looking at a language that I do not understand, I could fully, completely decide to read, write, understand a brand new language. I'm not saying you should or that you want to, but that's not my point. My point was, in your history, you climbed that mountain before. That means that you can climb that mountain again. So if you once upon a time couldn't read Hebrew, couldn't read a page of Chumash, and now you can, and you're sitting on the outside of a Gemara class looking in thinking, I can't do this. I don't know how to do this. Think back to how many times in your past there were things that you could not do, then eventually, by hard work, by dedication, by homework, by tutoring, by azur, you were able to do it. We mine our own history for our future. Says the Torah, you know who Yitro was? He was Kohen Midyan, he was a high priest. He was the guy who talked everybody into bringing korbanot for avodah zarah. By the way, I just want to share with you something. You know what the worst criminal in a Jewish court used to be? Mesit umediach. Anyone know what that means? It does not mean hint. The guy who washes the dishes in the kitchen. That's a very different type of mediach. Mesitu mediach. Anyone know what that means? Menashe, king of Israel, was mesitu mediach. He seduced, hasata, hadacha, and he was mediach, and he turned all of the Jewish people to idol worship. He persuaded them to worship idols. He closed the routes to Jerusalem and told them instead to bring their korbanot to idol worship. Why do I say it's the worst in the court? The halakha is that in Beit Din we are required to have the Beit Din attempt to find ways of exonerating a person that they're ruling against. Limud zechut. But when it comes to mesitu mediach, we have no such halakha. A guy who convinced Jews to leave Judaism, to leave God, to worship idols, no rahamanut on the mesitu mediach. My friends, Yitro was a mesitu mediach. It don't get worse than that. And says the Torah, that person, he could become Choten Moshe. He's also welcome to turn around, to do Teshuva, to come back, to join the Jewish people, to make suggestions, to have a parasha named after him. Not just a plaque in the synagogue. Although that's a great thing and everyone should get one. You know who learned this lesson? Menashe. He's sitting at the end of his rope and he asks himself, is there any way my teshuvah will be accepted? And he remembers the words that his father taught him. Afilu cherev chada. Even if a sharpened sword, munachat al savaro shel adam, rests on the neck of a person. He should not withhold himself from God's mercy. In a parasha that's going to talk to you about Aseret HaDibrot and accepting the Torah first needed to express who is welcome at this party. What actions that you've done render you inadmissible to the party of Torah? To being a Talmid Chacham, to having a son-in-law like Moshe Rabbeinu, to having your name written in the pantheon of Jewish history. And you know what the answer is? Nothing. Even Mesitu Mediach. What a beautiful lesson. So it is true that we are not allowed to remind someone of their past. But first of all, their past and the journey that it took to get there from their past is and should be their greatest source of strength in adversity. But secondly, could you think of a bigger zechut for Yitro's spiritual bank account than being the source of inspiration to every sinner that they could be a saint? To every person who felt far away, that they could hear the call, Vayishma Yitro. We know of two people whose names were mentioned in the Torah, Reuven and Aharon. If Reuven had known that the Torah would write about him, he would have ran to save Yosef, put him on his shoulders. If Aaron would have known that the Torah would say about him, he would have came out with tupim umecholot, with a marching band. To know that your story is going to inspire others in the Torah, and that you'll have the eternal zechut of that, that would be worth pushing yourself to the extremes. So the Torah says, Yitro, Mechila, I want to give you a gift. I'm going to let people know that this pathway also has access. Now, I don't know who you are, whoever you're listening to this from. I want to share with you that no matter where you are, the path to Torah is open for you. Wendy, a non-Jewish listener who never misses a class, who just commented on one of the classes that she never misses a class. Stephen, non-Jewish listener who we talk about all the time, who just sent me the most beautiful email, made me cry. Not Jewish, never misses a class. My friends, if Wendy and Stephen never miss a class, what about Moshe and Yaakov and Jacob and Judah, who think to themselves, you know something, if the rabbi knew what I did, if God knew the mistakes I've made, the sins I've committed, I have no place in the Beit Knesset and in the Beit HaMikdash. Well, understand that there's a name called Yitro. And know what Yitro means? Yoter. You might know that from a song that's mildly popular today. I don't know if you heard the song. Hashem Yitbarach, Tamid Ohev Oti, Tamid Yeh Li Rak Tov, right? Ve'od Yoter Tov, Ve'od Yoter Tov, right? Od yoter. What does yoter mean? More. You know what Yitro teaches every person? You were a thief, yoter. There's more here for you, to your story. You can write new chapters when you're not a thief. You were a person who spoke Lashon Hara. You're the town gossip. There's more to your story. There's more to you. You were a person who was violent. You're a criminal. There's more to your story. You could turn it around. What we learn from Yitro is that for every human being, there is more. Hashem should bless us, Be'ezat Hashem. Each person, from wherever they are coming, to find the Nikudat Ha'or, the source of light, the pinpoint of light inside of them, that is saying, Od Yoter Tov, there's more good in me. Baruch Adonai Le'olam. Amen ve'amen.